Hello everybody, my name is Courtney. Welcome to my channel where I talk about books I like, books I love, and everything in between. Today I'm doing one of my favorite genres or favorite tropes of all time, and that is enemies to lovers. And this is the top 5 enemies to lovers books I have read so far. I will probably do another video on this later, but these are the current ones that are sitting on my favorites list. Probably one of my favorite books of all time is called A Heart of Blood and Ashes, and it's the first in the Gathering of Dragons series by Milla, Vane. I was kind of hesitant to read this, for one because it was long and I have a very short attention span, and for two I saw it recommended on multiple channels, and me being a total rebel did not want to read it because it was popular. So I have so many knots in my hair. I plan to cut it off pretty soon here because it's just getting really bad. A Heart of Blood and Ashes is set in a fantasy world. So you have these this kingdom that are kind of barbaric, and they kind of remind me of barbarians, really. You know, they wear furs, they're very sort of primitive. And then you have like a neighboring kingdom. And it's been a long time since I've read this book, so I can't exactly go into like what the characters' names are and all of that, but I can tell you what the overall story is. So you have this guy, and he comes back from, I believe he comes back from battle, but that might not be true because I haven't read it in a long time. So he comes back with his, what is called his dragon, which is basically just a band of warriors that he travels with, and they're kind of like bodyguards / friends. He comes back to the news of his parents being murdered by this other neighboring kingdom. It all leads up to him thinking that this princess of this kingdom is the one responsible for his parents' death. Like, she wrote a letter to his parents asking them to come to her kingdom, and then they ended up dead. So in his mind, she caused their deaths. So he intercepts a carriage that is carrying this princess in it, and he kidnaps her with the intent of, killing her for revenge. And she is basically like, I didn't do it, and here's the reasons that you shouldn't kill me. It's a very classic case of her being locked in a tower by her parents, and nobody really knew she existed or even knew who she was. But she, in that time, became very smart. And I mean smart. Politically smart, book smart, just everything smart. It turns out because she is the rightful heir to her kingdom, and her father did not want that to be a thing. So he locked her away. I'm doing this video on the same day that I did my last one, or my Omegaverse one. So I'm still sick, and I apologize. She is basically like, look, it wasn't me. I want to get revenge on my father as well. And to do that, we should get married. Because, you know, politics and marriage unions and things like that. And he's like, nope, I don't believe you. You're gonna travel with us. We're gonna take you here. And I hate you. You murdered my parents. And he thinks she's very weak, like physically weak, because they value like physical strength in his culture, in his kingdom. She is very physically weak. She's been kept in a tower. She hasn't gone exercise. She's actually like, a few of her fingers are missing. Like, there's all these things about him where he's like, you are not a warrior. You are not fit to marry. But she ends up, she's just so strong in so many different ways. So smart. And I just I admired her character so much. And I thought like the progression of their relationship was really interesting. So it's definitely enemies to lovers because she doesn't want to marry him, obviously, because like the only reason she wants to marry him is to get her kingdom back that she is the heir to. And he doesn't even want to do it. And it takes like the whole book to convince him to do it. Without giving anything away, it's a really good book. I really liked the political aspect to it. I liked the world. I loved the characters, and I highly recommend it. The next book on my list is one that I've already mentioned in one of my previous videos, and that is the Carnal games, which is #1 in the Carnal Desires series by Naudii Nebula. And it is an alien romance. When I say true enemies to lovers, this is a true enemies to lovers. It's not just two people that don't like each other, it's two people that want to kill each other and have tried over the course of however many years. Basically, humans obviously are in space. It is a time when humans are very much integrated into space culture. And they're at war with this race of aliens that is very strong. This is very physically strong. Very like I don't remember why they're at war, but they are at war. And these two had a very bad experience when they first met, in which this alien dude basically killed all of this woman's co-workers and then gouged out her eye. So she only has one real eye throughout the entire rest of the book. And from that point on, she wants to try and kill him. And so they spend years kind of going back and forth in this game of like, who can damage the other one worse. But then they get caught up in the situation where they are both thrown into what is called the Carnal games. Imagine Hunger Games, but like worse. Because they don't just want you to be pitted against each other and like try and kill each other. The viewers also want like to see this guy force himself on the female character. And through a big, like, they basically blackmail them into agreeing to do this with each other. And like, you know, at first both of them are like when they tell them to try and kill each other, they're like, well, okay, we've been doing that for like the past 10 years. But then they start to hold personal things over their head, like family members and things like that, to blackmail them into staging these sexual situations for the entertainment of the viewers. And then as this all happens, the two characters start to grow closer to each other. But they start to understand like where they're coming from, and they start to understand their past and the reasons why they do what they do. They just start to grow closer together to the point of, you know, going from enemies to lovers. The next book that I have on my list is Brutal Prince, and it is the first in the Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark. This is a like mafia romance type of enemies to lovers, and it is new adult. The main female, I believe, is very, very young, adult but very young, and she and this other family are rivals, and she ends up doing something very bad to this other family while they're at a party at their house or something, like a gathering or something, because this other family that her family hates is very politically involved. So they have like this party or this gathering, and she does something bad that gets a lot of attention. And in order to quell the tension between these families, it's been a while since I've read this book, but basically the families tell them to get married to help like alleviate some of the hate between them. They say, get married and then we will be one, and then all of these fights will no longer be an issue. I don't really know how that works in the modern day, but that's what they do. So they get married. They freaking hate each other. I mean, I think there's a part where he like almost drowns her just to make a point. And it's just very sassy. Everything about their relationship is very sassy. They are very sassy. They're very spicy. They have a lot of hate sex, and then it turns into love sex. And I thought it was fun. Like for a contemporary romance, I thought it was really fun, and I actually enjoyed it. And I actually read all the other books in that series, so that goes to show what I thought about it. The next book I have in this list is actually one that I just read. I mean, I don't know when this video is coming out, but at the time that I'm making this video, I just read this book, and it is called King's Bride. I don't know which number it is in Chronicles of Ern. I think it might be number 1, but it's by Beck, and I think I found an author that I am just like really in love with, because I ate this book up. It is technically it feels inspired by Beauty and the Beast. You have this woman, Sheneva. I'm gonna go into this book a lot deeper when I do my fairy tale retelling top 5 list, but you have this character, Sheneva, and she is a culture that is very Viking based. It seems very, very much inspired by Vikings. They're in this land of snow. They have never seen a spring. There's always snow. It's always winter. And it's very difficult, because it's always winter, it's very difficult to get food. It's very difficult to hunt. It's just very difficult to live in general. And the king that rules over this land, the Winter King or the King of Death, I mean, they have a lot of like names for him in the book, but they hate him because he keeps this perpetual winter over the land. She's trying very hard to provide for her family. Her father is an abusive... I don't know what else to say. Like, there's so many bad words I could use to describe him, but her father is awful. And she feels responsible for her siblings, and for reasons that you find out in the book that are very tragic. She feels very responsible. She has a very dark past. Very dark things happen to her that she carries on her shoulders. And in an effort to save her brother after a certain incident, she steals a magical rose from the castle where the king resides. And she gets very punished for it. It starts a chain reaction that leads to her father trying to keep the king from destroying his entire village. Basically, he says, marry my daughter. That will ensure our allegiance to you, and you'll have a wife. And the king strangely says yes. And so she marries him with the intent to kill him. Like, that's all she wants to do, because she blames him for the death of people. And she blames him for a lot of other things. And so she marries him just basically because she wants to find out how to kill him. And he's very difficult to kill because he may or may not be a god. I don't know, he's very magical. And the book basically goes through the entire relationship and how they grow together, and the evolution of this world, which was very interesting. So I really liked it. The last book that I have on my list is Gut Deep, and it is the first in the Torn World series by Donna Augustine. It's a very dystopian world. And again, it's another book that I read a very long time ago. It's a very dystopian world where the mythical creatures suddenly decided to take over. And humans are bottom of the food chain. Or not food chain, they're peasants. Humans are peasants. Mythical creatures rule the world now. And you follow this girl who is trying to provide for her family. And you basically get like rations in this world, like humans. You're not allowed to have cell phones. If you have a cell phone, you literally can just be killed in the street. She ends up being a server at some sort of a gathering for these mythical creatures, or like nobles or higher ups. It is set in a modern day, by the way, or equivalent to modern day. It's obviously like another universe. But she's serving, and if I remember correctly, she is serving for a purpose. She's serving at this particular event because she needs something, because her sister or brother is sick, and there is something that she can get to make her unsick. That may or may not be the plot, but I know that she was there for a reason, and I think that was what it was. But anyways, there is a vampire that really wants to do terrible things to her. And there's a werewolf at this particular gathering that realizes that this vampire wants to do terrible things to her and decides he's going to save her. And in order to do that, he needs to put his scent all over her. And so they have this very like awkward and like slightly sexy moment where he needs to like do steamy things. So the vampire knows that she belongs to him, and he really doesn't want to do it. The only reason he's doing it is basically to get on this vampire guy's nerves, because if this vampire guy loses the girl that he's been eyeing all day or all night, he's gonna be very upset. And this werewolf guy has something against this vampire dude. That is so vague, and it is such a small part of the story, but that is where it all begins, and then it progresses from there, because obviously this like fake relationship that they have evolves into more. And I really like the dystopian feel of it. I liked that they started this relationship out of necessity, and they really don't like each other. I mean, he's a werewolf. He's top of the ladder, you know, and she's a human. She's literally just a peasant, like less than a peasant. And I liked the way their relationship started. I liked the way it went. And I haven't read any other books in the series, but the first one was really, really good. This is where I do a self-promo part. So you can skip this if you want, if you don't like hearing people talk about their own stuff. But on the topic of enemies to lovers, I actually wrote a book. It is called Ashbringer. It is a dragon shifter romance set in modern day. And it is the first in the A Storm of Fire series. And it is very, very much an enemies to lovers. And it is set in a world where dragons have come from another planet, and because they're so much stronger than humans, they decided to take over Earth. Our heroine doesn't like that, her family, her life was destroyed by dragons when she was a child. But she gets sucked into the politics of it when her stepfather, or the father that adopted her, gets arrested and for a crime that she doesn't think he did. And it kind of spirals into this situation where the brother of the person that her adopted father supposedly wronged has caught wind of what she's trying to do, that she's trying to free her adopted father. And he decides to bind himself to her as a punishment because she's the only one he can take his anger out on, and it spirals from there. So I don't really want to give a lot away, but it is a Dragon Shifters Enemies to Lovers book, and if you guys want to check it out, it is on Kindle Unlimited, and my website is always around because this is my YouTube channel. So if you want to check it out, please do. I would really appreciate it. The next one is coming out hopefully very soon. It is almost finished, and then I have to do edits on it, but if you like the series, just know that the next book is on its way. Those are all the books that I have for you guys today. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys pick up some of those books, and I would love to know what you guys think. And if you have any other suggestions for Enemies to Lovers books that you enjoyed, put them in the comments below, and I will be sure to check them out. Until then, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you. Give this video a like, give me a follow if you haven't already, and I will see you all next time. Bye!